This video was made possible thanks to my friends at Equinox Chevrolet GMC. Feel free to check out their inventory at equinoxcars.com. There's a link in the description.
This is a 2026 GMC Terrain Denali, and it has to be one of the most handsome options you can find in the compact crossover market. Those of you who are familiar with this channel might recall that last year I actually got a GMC Terrain as a loaner vehicle back when Stardust was in the shop for her wiring harness. Needless to say, despite that, ultimately, and this still remains true to this day, I much prefer sedans over crossovers, and so doing these reviews is a bit painful for me because when it comes time for recommendation, I know people love these things. I don't. I just can't get behind the idea of owning a crossover. But needless to say, at least my time with the GMC Terrain was not awful because GMC knows how to build a good vehicle. And while that particular trim was the SLT last time around, this time I'm here in the top of the line, top dog Denali. Though will the Denali trim be enough to sway me into thinking, oh, crossovers are cool, crossovers are the ultimate thing? No, probably not. But because you guys out there like them so much for some reason, fine, I'll start reviewing them again. And yes, I know I'm infamous for my electric car reviews. It's just, for one, there aren't that many dealerships around here that sell electric cars. Equinox Chevrolet and GMC has been the only one that's let me review them. And at least at the moment, I basically reviewed every electric car they had on the lot. Blazer, the Equinox, the Silverado, even a Hummer EV SUV, which is crazy enough. And at some point, I told them if a Chevy Bolt ever comes in, let me know. Yeah, we'll get there at some point. But in the meantime, it turns out you guys really do like my car reviews. Not just electric, but even the GMC Terrain video I did last year did pretty well for this channel. So I thought, all right, let's continue on this year with some more gas vehicles, and I decided to start it off by the vehicle you guys really showed me you liked a lot, the GMC Terrain. Just this time, the all-new third generation GMC Terrain. So without further ado, let's get into the spec dump.
To start off our spec dump, I'd like to point out that there are 3 total trims for the GMC Terrain. We have the base Elevation, the AT4, and the Denali. We also happen to have 2 different powertrain setups, a standard one that only comes on the Elevation, while all other models will get a completely different setup. For our base powertrain setup, we have a front-wheel drive setup that is only available on the Elevation as standard equipment. This setup comes with a 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder producing 175 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. That is sadly paired to a CVT transmission, which we all know how much everybody loves those. But if you care about efficiency, this is actually going to be the more efficient powertrain setup of the bunch at 26 city, 28 highway, and 27 miles per gallon combined, according to the EPA. Surprisingly, this thing actually has the ability to tow, though I strongly recommend against it considering that it's basically maxed out at 800 pounds. But if you opt for the all-wheel drive powertrain on either the Elevation or just any other model of the Terrain, you will get that same 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder that produces 175 horsepower, but they happen to actually upped the torque increase. I don't know if that has to do with any gearing ratio in the all-wheel drive system, but you do get more torque out of this setup. This powertrain also gets rid of that CVT and gives you an 8-speed automatic, which, funny enough, is actually a downgrade compared to the last generation. Last generation actually had a 9-speed automatic transmission, but now we're down to 8 gears. And in terms of the fuel economy that nets you, that gets you about 24 miles per gallon city, 26 miles per gallon highway, and 25 mpg combined, according to the EPA. And we do get a slight towing increase, though it's still only about a maximum of 1,500 pounds, so I recommend that you only use that tow hitch for things like a bike rack, for example. You're not going to do any heavy towing duty with this. In terms of MSRP pricing, the Elevation front-wheel drive starts at $31,295. The Elevation all-wheel drive model adds an additional $2,000 on top of that. Then you get the AT4, which is pitched as an off-road version, though, let's be honest, it's really just, black out the trim and try to make it look off-roady. I highly doubt they changed anything with the suspension. But nonetheless, if you want an off-road appearance trim to your Terrain, Terrain. That'll net you $39,995. And then we have the top of the line Denali model, which will start at $42,495. Today's tester, I happen to have gotten lucky with the Denali model, so that's going to start at $42,495 MSRP. And in terms of our options we only have just a couple. We only have the Ebony Twilight paint, which is an additional $495 charge. The front license plate bracket, which I don't think you can buy any vehicle from this dealership without it, for an additional $40. Tacking on a destination fee of $1,395, we come to a total price of $44,425 as equipped. And if you're interested in picking up this exact model from the dealership, the dealer is asking for $43,035 on this particular vehicle. Just thought I'd mention that.
As always, we start off with our tours here at the front of the vehicle, and we're going to talk about styling, which, yes, GMC has finally revamped. It's been a few years, like roughly 8 years since we got a redesign for the Terrain. Nonetheless, it's here. And so with the Denali model, of course, we're still going to have GM's signature Denali chrome mesh grille. Other models will have still their 3-bar black grille, something basic. It's not the worst design ever, but the Denali always has to class things up. And actually, a weird thing this year is that the Denali this time around isn't actually as blingy as the GMC Denali models used to be. They actually dialed back the chrome a bit to something a little more tasteful. But yeah, as we can see, nice big chrome grille here, chrome piece on the bumper, and the paint color this time around is Ebony Twilight, I believe. And then coming here to our headlights, they happen to be fully LED this time around. I believe I found a halogen bulb somewhere last time. I don't recall if it was the fog lights or high beams or something, but we are now on a full set of LED headlights, which we better be considering this is the top of the line Denali model. But yeah, LED turn signals with your signature C-shaped bracket as always, and then LED high and low beams, and you'll also find hidden down here, it's kind of hard to see, you'll also have some LED fog lights. As of your engine options this time around, we're basically reduced to one, just like last time around. Although, I have to admit, I was kind of hoping we get something better considering the last time around. I did have some slight complaints with the powertrain in the last GMC Terrain for a reliability aspect, because in that car, in order to actually get some decent power out of it, you kind of needed to rev that thing real high in the rev range, and I had a suspicion it was due to that small engine. Once again, this time around, we're still stuck with a very small 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine paired to nothing. No electric motor, unlike my hybrid vehicle that I drive. And this will give me a few concerns during the test drive, because even though this is a smaller vehicle compared to the competition, I don't think this small of an engine is going to be enough to move this thing, but we'll find out in the test drive. But even before we get to that, can I just complain that GMC, this is your top of the line Denali model. Why do we have a prop rod to hold up the hood here? That's a bit ridiculous. And in terms of the overall dimensions of this vehicle, it's not particularly that big for the size, actually. This really is legit one of the smaller options in the compact crossover space. So in terms of our dimensions, we're looking at an overall length of 181 inches and an overall wheelbase of roughly 107 inches. So yeah, this is definitely one of the smaller options in the segment. There's nothing wrong with a smaller car. Some people prefer small cars. They're easier to park. And while we're over here on the side of the vehicle, something I need to point out, the gas tank. Thankfully, they didn't move it back to the wrong side of the vehicle, because the first generation Terrain actually had the gas tank on the wrong side of the vehicle. They corrected it with the second gen, and thankfully, they're still keeping it here on the driver's side. It's capless, because of course it is, and the fuel tank is roughly 15.6 gallons. So, according to the combined MPG rating of this vehicle, it should travel about 390 miles. That's actually roughly the same range as a Tesla Model 3 long range, for those of you who think that electric cars don't have enough range. And finally, we come to the rear of the vehicle, where we are going to talk about taillights for just a few seconds. Because I always have two simple tests that every vehicle needs to pass in order to be certified Random Alpha approved. We passed one of the tests. The fact that they are all LEDs, LED brake light and turn signal, and reversing light, that's good. They're all LED taillights. But it fails the second test once again. GM, how many times do I have to tell you this? Turn signals and brake lights are not supposed to be the same bulb. Brake lights should always be red. Turn signals should always be amber. Still haven't finished doing your homework, have ya? Do pardon the bugs on the back of the vehicle. This is actually fresh off the truck. Now we turn towards the trunk, which this Denali model definitely has a power trunk. I'm trying to remember if it's also standard equipment on an Elevation model or not. Slight complaint I have here, because this is a luxury car, I should mention. Well, it's supposed to be at least. For one, I mean, yeah, it's mentioned. Denali. They're trying to put emphasis on the luxury part of this vehicle, right? My only complaint, and this is minor, is I wish that the rear wiper was actually tucked up here in the spoiler. It just cleans up the back design a little bit more. Though I understand why it's down here. It's because they have this camera right here for your rear view camera mirror situation. Though still, I'd like to see this up here on luxury vehicles especially. Let's check out our cargo space, because this is powered. And as you can see, the cargo space is pretty decent actually this time around. I'd actually argue it's a lot better than the Chevy Equinox EV that I reviewed, considering that these are roughly same class size vehicles. And before I get in to showcase that capacity, I'm going to show you we have underfloor storage as well. Supposedly we have a spare tire if I look under here, I guess. Oh wow, they actually made it real difficult to get in there, but if I have a peek, yep, there is a spare tire in here. So I'm not entirely sure how to remove this second trunk lid in here, but there is definitely a spare tire in here, which is way better than a slime kit. And so lying back here in the cargo area, compared to the Equinox EV I reviewed last year and the Terrain that time around as well, actually this is pretty decent space. The cargo area in here is not that bad. I'm not really slouching as much as I did in the Equinox EV, and just, well, yeah, GMC decided to give this a good cargo area. The one thing, however, that I am disappointed to see is, unfortunately, GMC decided to get rid of something for this generation. The previous generation actually gave you levers on the sides of the vehicle, which it makes it easier to fold down these seats right here. But yeah, unfortunately for this generation of GMC Terrain, they decided to do away with those levers. So yeah, if you want to fold down the seats, you'll have to come to the side doors or really stretch your way across the cargo area to fold them down.
All right, enough dilly-dallying on the outside. Let's get to where it matters most, the inside. And so, to start off, this is the typical GMC key fob that we're used to seeing these days, and feels relatively nice. I think this is real aluminum on the side for the GMC variant, but ultimately, I'm still not particularly a fan of this key fob with its hard plastics and such. I really much prefer the last key fob where it had rubberized buttons. Just gave a nice, softer feel for your fingers, but nonetheless, this is the current key fob that they're using, and as you can see, it features remote start. I think this is standard equipment on all terrains, and to activate it, it's the same process as always. Just make sure you lock the vehicle and double tap the remote start button, and the engine will fire to life, and just shut it off. Same process with the button again. I don't think this has approach animations on the headlights or anything like that, and there's a couple of complaints that I have with this door handle here. Not too much, but one is the fact that now it's literally the entire thing, and I'm used to pivoting my hand this way, and now that that nub right there for your pivot is gone, it's a bit more of an awkward door pull. But my other complaint is actually the smart entry system. I allowed them to get away with this for long enough, but I think it's time GM actually were to start putting a sensor behind the handle here to unlock the vehicle, because as I found with my LaCrosse, which has the exact same setup here, this gets real confusing. If you push the button, it does the same thing. It'll either lock or unlock the vehicle, and that gets confusing every now and again. Nonetheless, let's actually step inside, and you'll find a really nice looking interior. I do wish that we had the optional lighter shale interior, whatever that interior color option is. Obviously this is just the jet black, but we're greeted with a nice impression here. Our seats here are 8-way power adjusting, including is this 2-way or 4-way? Just 2-way lumbar. I kind of would have expected to see 4-way at this price point, but that's just me. Step in height is fairly reasonable. In fact, actually, I almost think I'm actually a tad lower to the ground than compared to the last Terrain. So yeah, that's actually interesting. All right, so we'll shut the door. Nice solid GM thunk as always. Real nice impressions in here, including this 15-inch tablet style display here, which is a massive upgrade from the 8-inch display that the Terrain used to have. We basically gained like double the screen real estate effectively. But we're going to come back to that in a minute. We're going to focus on some materials in here first. Coming to the door panel here, we have a soft touch plastic right here. It's not the nicest material for a Denali, but I mean, oh well, it makes sense. Coming down, we have some real-ish looking wood here. It feels real. I think it is real. Along with
some aluminum trim. We got an aluminum door handle. This is cheap plastic right here, the door handle surrounded in. We have our lock and unlock buttons along with our memory seating, plus a easy exit button. Coming further down, we actually have a leatherette-ish material. It's not, I don't think this is real leather, but it feels a lot nicer than plastic. And then coming to our window switches here, sorry for the lighting. All of our windows are going to be automatic down, but only the driver's window is auto up, which is, it's strange because my car, a Buick, actually has the passenger window as auto up as well. So I would have expected this Denali to have auto up passenger, but yeah, that's a bit odd. And then we also have our mirror controls. Further down, we have storage, including a space for a water bottle, and you'll find the button to pop the rear trunk. Continuing on with our materials, we come to the dash here where we got more of that soft touch plastic, although it actually feels a little bit harder. No, it's still got that soft. It still has some give to it. A leather-ish portion right here, along with a very, very thin slice of wood with aluminum trim. And coming down to our center console here, we actually have some leather padded spots right here for your knee to bump against, so your knees will appreciate that. Leather padded armrests and such, and could have been put together just a little bit nicer. I'm a bit surprised that we got this gap in here. Yeah, this should have been put together just a touch nicer, at least this piece. All the fit and finish things that I'm seeing are just minor stuff, but other than that, no, it's GMC build quality. They do a great job with build quality generally, though I am surprised they did not put this in as well as it should have been put in. In fact, let me fix that. Can't really fix it. Let's fire it up. So just like basically every other GM vehicle for the past 15-ish years or so, why did the brake pedal just move? That's interesting. Yeah, all you have to do is just put your foot on the brake and push the button to start the engine. And that was GMC's new chime. Somewhat new, I guess. All right, so over here on the side, we'll mention, you'll find your electronic parking brake, your drive mode selector. In fact, what do we get for drive modes, actually? Oh, they should show up here. So we have a tow haul, which, towing, you definitely do not want to do with this vehicle. It is not rated to tow a lot. Snow and ice, off-road, and then just a normal mode. So nothing sporty or anything like that. I mean, this is supposed to be a nice luxury vehicle with some toughness to it, I guess, if you want to say. We also have a control for the all-wheel drive system, which is standard on the Denali models, so no need to option that on, along with a toggle for your auto hold function. And then also this button right here will turn on and off your auto start stop system, whether you want to say fuel economy or your starter motor. And then of course you have your interior dimming light switch. Notice you won't find your headlight controls here anymore, and that's because they controversially actually moved them into the screen. We'll get to that a little bit. But coming to your steering wheel here, it is nicely leather wrapped. It's real nice leather compared to the doors, actually. And on this side here, we'll find our cruise control slash forward collision detection systems and such. And I think this is supposed to control your low gear. I think. Oh yeah, because as we might notice, we got paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel, which is interesting. Although I have to admit, it's not actually a full paddle that it is. You actually do have to push like up here or something, because right beneath it, if you hadn't noticed, there's actually a few extra buttons back here for seeking through your music and such. And the same goes for on the other side of the steering wheel too. You'll actually find that we got volume and our seeker controls right there. Despite that, one would actually think they'd be right here in front of you on the steering wheel, but nope. This is actually to control your gauge cluster right here, which allows you to pick a few things. I can get into it. So, I have to change design and such. This button here can completely change your gauge cluster design, including a design to show your full maps and such. Hey, that's cool. I can put Apple Maps in here. Oh, that is awesome. Okay, that's real cool. I'd personally like to keep it on this screen because this is actually what gives you your proper fuel gauge. Otherwise, it literally gives you a fuel gauge based off of how many miles the vehicle thinks it has remaining, which I'm not sure if I particularly like that. I'm not sure how good GM's guessometer is. But yeah, over here you'll find the rest of your media controls and such, and your heated steering wheel, which I believe is standard equipment on the Denali, along with your phone answer, hang up toggles, and voice control, and yeah, basically all of your media functions right here. In terms of your stocks, you will find some form of lighting controls where you'll have your turn signals, of course, along with your high beam controls and such. And then also this will control your wipers. These appear to be rain sensing wipers, I think. Oh yeah, here's your sensitivity right here. And then this is for your rear wiper as well. And then if you want to do the full squirt and such, that's push this button in. Coming to your shifter here, because this is what they use the other stock for. It's the same shifter as a lot of GM's latest vehicles, which I'm not particularly too much of a fan of, but I mean, it functions. It does everything it needs to do. To shift into drive, you have to pull the stock towards you and then pull it down. For neutral, just pull it towards you and hold. And then for reverse, pull it towards you and up. And since we got our backup camera up right now, resolution's a little grainier than I expected. It's kind of needs a little bit of cleanup. I don't know if that's just camera angle or focus. I mean, it's completely serviceable. And the fisheye doesn't look too bad compared to the last terrain I was in. The last terrain I was in, the fisheye was awful. Oh, and then we get our top-down 360 camera as well, along with a few other angles like we got a front camera angle as well. This will zoom in on the rear, it looks like, and the front, and then this will show us our curb if we're getting close to a curb, so that'll be nice. And we can also toggle through our trajectory lines, and if I had to guess, this toggles the 360. Oh yeah, so if you don't want your 360 and you want a better view of what's behind you, well, you can do that too, though I mean, I don't see what's wrong with the 360. And then finally, for park, just push the P. And now that we've made our way to the center, let's discuss some storage a little bit. So right here we have our center console. We have this miniature tray here that is, it kind of appears out of place. It looks like it's supposed to go here. Yeah, that's what I thought. So okay, we got our mini tray here. Center console goes real deep, actually. This is a fairly deep center console. I don't see any power connections in here, so that's interesting. But yeah, no power connections in here, not even a light. We'll also find our wireless phone charger right here. So if I put my iPhone XS Max here, does it charge? It does! I'm usually not a fan of this design wireless charger though, because if phones were to say grow taller or anything, then they won't actually fit in the space, which is a problem in some older GM vehicles with this style wireless charger, but it fits my iPhone XS Max just fine, so okay. We'll find our cup holders here, along with another bin you can use to store stuff, and this is where you'll happen to find your power connections. You'll find a USB Type A along with a Type C. I wish these were both Type C ports instead of one Type A and one Type C, but I don't know. Again, this is a Denali. I expect the best. We'll also find our climate control buttons right here. GM has a bit of a theme when it comes to this general area. They love to have their piano keys, as they call them, and so yeah, you can use these to turn on your climate. It's dual zone climate. Some of the functions you do have to go into the screen here, right, for like for the sink and to toggle your heated 3-stage and ventilated 3-stage seats, but the climate controls will never move. They will always be fixed in place right here. And I guess since we have our volume knob right here, I guess we can turn to our audio system. I don't remember the exact number of speakers in the car, but of course this is going to feature a Bose's premium audio system, and so yeah, let's take a sample real quick. So, sound system is pretty good, actually. While there might be a slight lack of the lowest end of bass, honestly, I really have no complaints with this system. And I'm an audiophile for perspective, so I think you'll be very happy with this Bose audio system as it is. And I guess now we'll finally come to our infotainment system here, the main star of the show of the new Terrain. Because, well, while the powertrain and all that might not be as impressive, where GM decided to put a lot of their focus on this generation of Terrain is into the technology in the infotainment system. As you recall, last time around, we only had a tiny 8-inch display to work with, and you could not get any larger than that, while the competition was growing their screen sizes. Well, now GM gave this whole 15-inch display to work with here, which is quite expansive. So to give you a full tour of this, since I haven't actually showcased this exact infotainment system just yet, this is Android Automotive based, like the previous GM vehicles that I've showcased, yeah, which means you'll find a lot of Google services in here, like you might have noticed Google News, and you'll find the Play Store right here. But because this also happens to be a Google Android-based system, guess what we have for navigation? You guessed it, Google Maps. Now, there's one thing I gotta check in here. Do we have satellite? No satellite maps. What? Come on. You go through the effort to put Google Maps in here, and you don't give us satellite capabilities. What? You still have to make me use Google Maps on my iPhone to put satellite capabilities on here? Ugh. But nonetheless, you do have Google Maps for those of you who like that. Though I'm personally not a fan of Google Maps because I've had personal bad experiences with it. And so, thankfully, unlike basically every vehicle I reviewed last year, we have Apple CarPlay. Yes, iPhone users rejoice. And again, it drives me nuts that this is basically the same system they used in the Chevy EV vehicles that I used, but they refuse to put CarPlay in it. Why? They can easily do it. And so now I can use Apple Maps. Thank you. I prefer Apple Maps. Apple Maps works best for me. Along with, oh, I have the rest of my apps right. Oh my, they all fit on this one page just perfectly. That's hilarious, not gonna lie. And of course, we also have Android Auto, but I think if you're an Android phone user already, I don't think you'll be wanting Android Auto that much because you'll find basically all of your Google services here anyways. So, but that's the thing. And other things we have to talk about in here, the controversial stuff is a lot of our buttons that used to have their own home somewhere else in the vehicle have been moved into this one panel here on the screen. So that includes our dome light controls, weird enough, our power window lockout, camera access right there, which I'm shocked is not just an icon on the screen. Traction control, that is a big one here in the winter. That is something that is important to shut off in the winter. Auto high beams, fog lights, and park assist, I guess. And then also we have hill descent control. And I guess we have some more controls related to doors, windows, and lighting and such. Universal? No. Did they actually get rid of it? Or did they just move them up here? Oh my goodness, they actually got rid of the universal home link buttons. They moved that in here? What? GM, what were you thinking? I don't know. Some might like this, some might despise it. I'm not a fan of some of the controls they moved in here because now it's a multi-step process to actually get to it. But I mean, it works. It's kind of cleaned up the interior a bit, but yeah, it's a bit controversial to say the least. We'll also have a redundant climate menu in here, which I've shut off at the moment, but I guess this will give you better control of where the climate, air conditioning, and all that is going. Oh, one's right here, I keep forgetting. And then we also have our vehicle status here, which I guess it allows you to, monitor all sorts of things. Tire pressures, battery voltage. This is an interesting way to actually manage your status. Maintenance. Ooh, this is nice to see. Brake pad life, that's something useful. Oil, engine air filter. Do we have really? It's just the 4 things. What? Oh well. Gauges. What do we have here for gauges? This is actually kind of interesting. I did not know you could display this stuff right here. And then if you want to track any trip information and such, well, this is where you have to do it actually. It's no longer in the instrument cluster. It's now here in the infotainment system. And then coming into our settings, it's still a basic settings page. Nothing interesting to here other than you can toggle things like the stand by the tailgate to open it and such. Along with, if I had to guess, profile and counts. Does this include your teen driver settings, which I know they used to have? That's interesting. That used to be like on the home page here, but okay. Of course, because this is Android Automotive, it supports over-the-air software updates, I guess. I don't know what would necessarily be updated on this car, but nice to see. Overall, the infotainment system is fairly easy to use. It's fairly easy to understand, and I don't really have too much complaints with it, especially now that we have Apple CarPlay back. Seriously, GM, put Apple CarPlay back on your EVs. They need it so bad. And finishing up the tour of the interior here, we have a frameless auto-dimming mirror right here, along with, if you flip the switch, this will turn on your rear view camera situation, so you don't have to see people's heads in the back seat, which is very much well appreciated. You'll find your OnStar controls here, along with your hazards, which is actually federally mandated, has to be a physical button, so that's where they hid that. Dome lights right here, there are LED toggles, they gently fade in and such. Got a dedicated place to store your sunglasses. And in terms of our sun visor here, vanity mirror, it detaches and extends. No sunroof on this particular tester I have. It is available as an option, and it's a nice panoramic sunroof, but no, we do not have the sunroof on this model. And then finally coming over here to the glove box, because I should mention that. Stamped, not lined with felt, but relatively spacious actually. Oh no, not him. Oh yeah, I'm back. Dude. Seriously, you got me in trouble last time. Can you at least keep the back seat clean this time? Dude, I make no promises. But either way, starting with our backseat tour, we're going to start with the door panel here. And yeah, we're going to first shut the door as is. And let's just say, ooh,
That's a hard plastic. I don't like that. Come on, GM, what were you thinking? Though this wood here is nice, this aluminum's nice. We got an aluminum handle right here too. That makes things also nice. I like my one-touch down window, but why is it not automatic up? Come on. I thought this was a Denali. It's supposed to be luxurious and all that. Although this leather portion right here for my knee is really nice. What do we have for storage? Can I fit a water bottle? Yes, I can, along with some various other things and a nice speaker for jamming out to my terrible tunes. We got map pockets on the back of the seats right here, and are those heated rear seats I spot? How many stages? Oh, I see 3 LEDs here, so that means these are 3-stage rear heated seats. Oh, thank you so much. We also have climate vents for that air conditioning. And then what do we have back here? 2 USB Type-Cs. Haha, I got more Type-Cs than you up front. But in terms of the actual seat itself, well, let's just say I like the comfort of these seats, actually. These are very nice. My butt does not feel weird against this weird bottom protrusion thing. We also have ISOFIX points, so if I have any kids in the future, that'll be awesome. We got a center folding armrest here with cup holders. No storage in the pocket. That's a bit weird. And what do we have in terms of space and room? Let's see. I have almost a full handspan of knee space. But then again, I'm short. I'm 5'8" and sitting behind myself. What do you expect? Of course I'm gonna have plenty of room. And if the seat is scooched all the way back, like this passenger seat here, oh, I still got plenty of space. No complaints on the space in here. If I recall, this is supposed to be, despite being one of the shorter options in the segment, this actually has one of the roomier back seats, which is interesting to say the least. But yeah, I'm really digging this back seat. All right, chauffeur, take me places. I am not your chauffeur. Time for a test drive. See how she does. Brake is nicely tuned, I can say that much for now. All right, immediate impressions of visibility. I actually would argue there's slight improvement over the previous terrain. And that improvement actually comes from the dash is definitely lower from the last terrain. So visibility has been greatly improved. It still has a tall hood, which, I get some like it for styling, but it just really impedes your visibility. Like I would question myself parking this close to a wall. I mean, it does have a front camera to help with that, but I'd argue you should not rely on cameras all the time. So to my surprise, in terms of power and such, I thought I was going to be disappointed in this little 1.5 liter 4-cylinder. But from a power's perspective, that little 1.5 liter 4-cylinder feels like the little 1.5 liter 4-cylinder that could. Then again, I drive a 4-cylinder hybrid vehicle, so it's not the most powerful thing, but it's definitely adequate. I thought I was going to be wanting more, but I don't think I could ask for more, actually. Unfortunately, with where I'm allowed to drive, I'm not really allowed to take this on any cornered back roads because they're just too far from the dealership. So definitely some body lean. I would not like to take this fast into corners at all. If I had to guess, if this thing actually had like a battery pack underneath, it probably would drop the center of gravity and definitely improve the handling characteristics. But this is still not something you really want to take into corners. You'll want to drive nice and easily into them. Ride's nice. I'm trying to drive in the sewer potholes to get an idea of the suspension. Ride's real good. All right, let's see how well we do on acceleration. Big delay. So big delay in terms of actually getting the transmission to shift. Other than that, it shifts real smoothly. It almost feels like unnoticeable, to be honest. What I don't like, however, is that engine is just that high up in the rev range all the time. It gives me slight concerns for reliability to constantly have your engine pegged like that. So criticisms I have are pretty minor. It's just the only things I'd worry about are getting this thing up to freeway speeds in a quick amount of time, depending on how short your on-ramps are. Passing power, I noticed the transmission takes a second to downshift. Give yourself some time to get the transmission to shift and all, but other than that, solid powertrain.
And now we come to the cardboard, my scoring system in which I rank all of the vehicles that I review. And so, without further ado, starting off under the hood, in terms of power, that tiny little 4-cylinder, while it might be the little 4-cylinder that it could, it still only produces enough power worth getting a 4 out of 10. And by the way, That's actually being a bit generous with this score. And in terms of transmission, we got a slight downgrade compared to the previous generation where, yeah, we lost a gear and we're at 8 gears this time around. Unfortunately, that means we're going to have to score this at an 8 out of 10 compared to the 9 out of 10 last time around. In terms of drivetrain, the Denali model has all-wheel drive basically as standard equipment, so that gets a 6 out of 10. 0 to 60 is only fast enough to get you a 5 out of 10 since it does it in roughly 8 seconds. And our fuel economy, it's not particularly that great for a vehicle in this class. It's not terrible, but it still could be better and gets a 6 out of 10, totaling up at 29 out of 50. Next up, we move to the weekend categories, and just a heads up, this is a subjective scoring on my part, so it's not really based on anything other than my opinions. Just warning you. In terms of styling, it's a pretty handsome vehicle, though it's a bit interesting to say the least. I'm not going to say it's the prettiest car out there, but it's not particularly offensive either, and so I'm going to give it an average 5 out of 10. Visibility happened to improve this time around. I was actually surprised that the dash was lower, and I was able to actually find myself in a better driving position than last time, so actually, yeah, that, but also we have more cameras than last time around. Now that we got that front camera and the 360 degree, deserves a 5 out of 10 on this one. In terms of handling, however, I would not want to send this thing into corners at all. She does not feel like she wants to, but it's not dangerous at all. It's just fine, so I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Fun factor, this is not really a fun car, but there are some other cars out there that I would not want to drive at all, so I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. And in terms of cool factor, it's really a high volume production vehicle for those who want a nice luxury vehicle without a Cadillac or Mercedes badge in front of it or whatever. At the same time, yeah, it's not really all that cool. The only thing that really helps it is the fact that it's the Denali model, and so I'm giving it a 2 out of 10, bringing us to a total of 19 out of 50 for the weekend categories. And finally, we end up at the daily categories, starting off with features. This vehicle is super well equipped. It's kind of short of some things, and it doesn't really have anything groundbreaking on the inside, so I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. In terms of comfort, this thing is very comfortable. I was actually surprised at how well this was handling the manholes that I was driving over, and yeah, I gotta give it a 6 out of 10. This thing's massively improved over the previous gen. Quality, however, it's still got a lot of GM plastics and all that. I mean, it does have slightly nicer materials. I do appreciate the aluminum and the wood, but GM still got so many plastics in there, and the leather, it's not really up to luxury standards in my opinion. But the vehicle is still built very well, minus that weird rubber tray liner thing that I found out of place. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 on the quality scale. In terms of practicality, it is really hard to argue about this thing not being practical at all. Nice big trunk space for the segment, the back seat's nice and roomy, the fuel economy isn't that great, but I mean, it's not horrible either, and you know what? I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. And in terms of value, I really don't know how much more you could ask in terms of a vehicle like this. For one, you're getting a nicer quality vehicle compared to others in the segment at this price point, and just in general, this terrain, despite that the powertrain could leave a tad more to be desired if I'm being honest. Honestly, I think this is an excellent value, and I can't really argue with it, the price tag at all. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, bringing us to a total of 31 out of 50 for the daily categories. Add them all up, we get a grand total of 79 out of 150, which is an excellent score. Honestly, I was quite impressed with the GMC Terrain Denali. In fact, if I had infinite money, I would probably buy my mom this car, since she loves Denali vehicles, and I think this would fit her perfectly. And truly, despite that, I wasn't exactly as excited about the last Terrain last time around. That was primarily because it had such an SUV position and tall dash, and I just could not get in a good position in that vehicle. And I'm just not excited about crossovers in general. But this time around, GMC made a lot of improvements to the Terrain, and while I still would like to see some more improvements to the drivetrain, I personally would like to see either a fully electric version, just like how the Equinox has a fully electric version, which, hey, I happen to have a video of on this channel. If they aren't going to at least release a fully electric version of the Terrain, I would at least prefer to see a hybrid. GM did say a year ago or so that they were going to get back into making more hybrids as people want more and more fuel efficiency. Well, maybe not the general public, just the government, but well, that's a rant for another day. Even still, I would personally at least like to see a hybrid powertrain option for this, because I think that 4-cylinder, while it may be adequate, I'd still like to see a little more personally, and adding an electric motor to that could do the Terrain so many more favors. Thanks for watching, and do us a favor and interact with the buttons below. Also, do me a favor and check out my Patreon page. I would very much appreciate that. This is the Random Alpha Drive, signing out. Would you look at that?
Is that the same one I reviewed? No, that's a different one. That's a different one. Phone. Keep losing my phone. Oh, did somebody drop their phone? Shut up.